The news spread across the galaxy like fire in a dry forest. A probe of the Galactic Council, built with the most advanced cloaking devices, armed with the most powerful scanners, and carrying the sacred insignia of the United Empires, had entered the Sol system, and then it had vanished. Not destroyed, not broken, simply gone. No distress beacon, no fragments, no signal. The council chamber shook with voices as thousands of envoys shouted at once, "This is sabotage!" screamed a reptilian lord with burning yellow eyes. "The humans cannot have such power," hissed a hive queen, her antennae twitching with fury. "Then explain it," shouted another. "Explain how an entire council probe can vanish without a trace." The speaker slammed her crystal staff against the floor, silencing the uproar. Her voice cut through the chamber like a blade. "One probe does not mean war. One probe does not mean Earth is dangerous. We will send another." But deep in their hearts, every envoy felt the same unease. It was not only the probe, it was the silence. Always the silence. For centuries, Earth had been absent from every debate, every alliance, every war. They had refused to take their seat in the chamber. They had refused to send envoys. They had refused to answer even when the greatest empires burned. And now, the first time the Council reached into their skies, the Council's hand had been cut off. The second probe was sent with even greater care. It carried stealth technology from the core Dominion, scanning systems from the Veyari swarm, and a failsafe beacon powered by the brightest stars of the Archon fleet. The Council believed nothing could silence it. It never even reached Earth. Halfway through the Sol system, as it passed the orbit of Mars, the probe blinked out. Its beacon screamed once, then was gone. This time, fear broke into the chamber like a storm. "Impossible!" the speaker shouted, though her own voice trembled. "They erased it," whispered the old Zalkrin envoy, his eyes clouded with age, but sharp with fear. "The humans saw it and they erased it." The chamber fell into silence. 2 probes, 2 vanishings, no answers. The galaxy began to whisper. What if Earth was not weak? What if Earth was not silent out of fear, but out of strength? What if the humans had weapons that no one else could understand? On Earth, deep under the mountains, hidden facilities roared to life. A council of their own, smaller, quieter, not of many species but of one, gathered in a dark chamber. Screens flickered with alien transmissions, recordings of the council. Debating the missing probes, the humans watched in silence. 2 probes, said Admiral Reyes, his voice cold. They will send a third, then a fleet. General Okoye leaned forward, her eyes hard as steel. Let them. Every probe they send will vanish. Every ship that enters Sol will vanish. The galaxy wanted to see our silence. Now let them fear it. No. One in the human chamber spoke of diplomacy. No one spoke of peace. For years, Earth had watched the galaxy. For years, they had listened to the arrogance, the mockery, the laughter. Stone throwers. That was what the aliens had called them. A race too primitive to matter. But the humans had not been idle, buried in oceans, hidden in deserts, resting under mountains. The silent fleet slept. Warships built not for defense, not for pride, but for extinction. Massive railguns carved into their bones, hulls blacker than the void, engines that could warp without being tracked. One by one, they were waking. The Council demanded answers. Fleets gathered at the edge of Sol, their weapons glowing, but none dared enter. The memory of the vanished probes was too strong. Commanders argued, governments shouted, but still no ship crossed into Earth's domain. And then the Council made a decision. If Earth refuses to speak, the speaker announced, then we will force them to speak. We will send a fleet, not to destroy, but to show our power, to remind them who rules this galaxy. The chamber roared with approval. Pride pushed away fear. 10 empires contributed ships. 200 vessels, armed with plasma cannons and energy shields, marched toward Sol. They were the greatest fleet the Council had ever assembled for a single mission. The galaxy watched. Billions of eyes fixed on the screens, waiting for Earth's silence to break. And on Earth, in the mountains, Admiral Reyes watched the same screens. "They are coming," he said softly. General Okoye smiled without warmth. "Then let them come. It is time they learn what silence means." Far below them in the dark, the silent fleet's engines flared to life. The ground trembled. The oceans stirred. Across the void, alien sensors began to scream. Something massive had awakened. The humans were ready. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy would hear Earth's voice, but it would not be a voice of peace, it would be the roar of war. The galaxy trembled. 200 alien warships cut through the dark like a burning spear, their weapons glowing, their banners bright, their commanders filled with pride. This was no small warning. This was a declaration, a show of dominance. A reminder that the Galactic Council ruled the stars, not a single stubborn planet hidden in silence. But as the fleet advanced, the void itself seemed to shift. Sensors across the Armada began to flicker. Signals bent and scrambled as if something invisible brushed against their systems. Captains shouted commands. Engineers tried to recalibrate, but one by one, the screens went dark. "Interference?" one commander barked. "Unknown, source unknown," an officer replied, panic edging his voice. "It is not natural, it is not possible." And then the void answered. From the darkness behind Earth's moon, something moved. Not one ship. Not two, but dozens. Shadows the size of cities emerged, their black hulls absorbing light, their outlines sharp like blades. No plasma glow marked them, no energy hum betrayed them. They rose in silence, their forms like predators, slipping from the ocean's depths. The silent fleet had awakened. On Earth, in the mountain command chamber, the lights dimmed as screens filled with alien fleet movements. Admiral Reyes stood at the center, his face grim, his voice steady. "Confirm launch sequence." "All silent fleet units reporting active," came the reply. "Railguns charged, magnetic accelerators primed, cloak fields holding. General." Okoye leaned over the table, her eyes locked on the cluster of alien ships moving towards Seoul. "They came to remind us who rules the galaxy. Let us remind them who rewrote the rules." The room fell quiet. The order had not yet been given. But everyone in that chamber knew what it would mean when Reyes spoke the next words. "Unveil them," Reyes said, and the silent fleet shed its cloak. Across the galaxy, watchers gasped as live transmissions from the Council fleet caught the first sight of Earth's hidden armada. "These are not ships," one alien envoy whispered in horror as the feed spread across the Council chamber. "These are monsters." The silent fleet stretched across space, each vessel vast, black, and armed with weapons no empire had seen before. Where Council ships shone with pride, the human ships radiated dread. No banners, no insignia, just war. And then the first alien. Commander made the mistake of speaking. "This is Council space," his voice echoed across channels. "Stand down, identify yourselves." The humans gave no answer. Instead, one of the massive ships shifted. Its railgun, longer than a city, rotated slowly until its dark mouth pointed directly at the Council fleet. Every alien sensor screamed at once. The weapon's magnetic coils flared like lightning, the energy spike dwarfing anything ever recorded. And then silence. For 7 endless seconds, nothing happened. 7 seconds where 200 alien ships pointed every weapon they had at Earth's silent fleet. 7 seconds where the galaxy held its breath, and in the 8th second, the railgun fired. No plasma blast, no glowing cannon beam, no exotic energy, just a solid tungsten slug. Accelerated to a fraction of light speed, it crossed the void in a blink. Shields meant to block plasma fire shattered like glass. Armor designed to resist centuries of war peeled apart as if struck. By a god's hand, an alien battleship, proud flagship of the Council's force, was erased in one silent instant. No explosion, no fire, just gone, split apart and broken into fragments drifting in the void. Every alien crew member froze, every captain stared in disbelief, every galaxy feed went silent, and humanity did not say a word. Panic tore through the eyed. "Council fleet, they destroyed a flagship," a voice screamed. "Shields are useless," another shouted. "Retreat, retreat," commanders cried, but the orders came too late. The silent fleet moved as one. Dozens of railguns aligned, their coils glowing, their mouths aimed at the invaders. Admiral Reyes's voice broke the silence at last, calm and merciless. "Fire!" The void itself roared. Slugs the size of houses tore across the black invisible until they struck. Each one ripped through shields, hulls, and crews in less than a heartbeat. Alien ships vanished in sprays of metal and fire, erased. Before they even understood what they faced, 200 ships had come in pride. 50 were gone in the first minute. In the Galactic Council chamber, panic turned into chaos. Envoys shouted, others fainted, some screamed for war, some for surrender. But the speaker could not speak. She could only watch as the Council's greatest fleet was torn apart like prey before predators. For centuries they had laughed at Earth. For centuries they had mocked their silence. Now they understood. Earth had been silent because Earth did not need to speak. And when Earth finally answered, it answered with war. On Earth, Admiral Reyes watched the screens as enemy ships burned. His voice was low, steady, unshaken. Let this be the first lesson. Let them learn fear. Let them know that silence is never weakness. General Okoye nodded, her eyes fixed on the dying alien fleet. The galaxy thought it was over, but here's only beginning. Above them, in the blackness of space, the silent fleet pressed forward, railguns charging again, their dark hulls swallowing the light. The galaxy had wanted to hear Earth's voice. Now, all it could hear was the sound of war. The galaxy had not known silence like this in thousands of years. Not the silence of peace, not the silence of diplomacy, but the silence of horror. After the battle near Sol, where 200 proud warships had been reduced to drifting fragments, every empire froze. Messages stopped, trade lanes emptied. Borders that had once burned with conflict went still. All eyes turned to Earth. The Council tried to control the panic. They called it an unfortunate incident. They claimed the fleet had been sabotaged. They claimed humanity had used forbidden technology. But the truth could not be hidden. The feeds had been transmitted live, and billions across 1,000 worlds had seen it. Human railguns erasing ships in silence. No shields had held, no armor had resisted, no fleet had survived. The galaxy trembled because something ancient had awakened, something Earth had never revealed before. In the council chamber, the speaker stood tall, but her voice shook. We cannot allow panic to spread. Humanity is not invincible. They are a young species, reckless, violent. Their power is dangerous but limited. We must remind the galaxy of this before fear turns to surrender. But even as she spoke, her words failed. Around her, envoys whispered in dread. Some had pale skin mottled with fear, others clutched. Their robes, their tails, their wings. Whatever form their bodies took, the fear was the same. They had all seen the flagship split in a single shot. Limited? An envoy spat. Did you not see what they did? Your armada is gone. Entire. Fleets are begging for protection. They were silent for centuries. Another hissed, her voice cracking. Now we know why. They were building this fleet. They were preparing for this very day. And we mocked them. We laughed. The chamber dissolved into chaos. Some demanded war. Others screamed for immediate peace. But one truth settled in everyone's mind. The galaxy's balance had shifted, and Earth was no longer beneath them. Far from the council, whispers spread through alien taverns, through crowded streets, through the dark networks of smugglers and mercenaries. Everyone spoke of the silent fleet. They don't use plasma. They don't use beams, just metal, one said, shuddering. Metal moving so fast it tears through ships like paper. They destroyed 200 vessels, another whispered. 200. And they lost none. Some swore Earth's ships were not ships at all but living shadows. Others believed humans had struck deals with ancient machines, buried beneath dead stars. Rumors twisted into legends, and as fear grew, so did respect. For the first time, alien children stopped, laughing at humanity. They stopped mocking the word Earth. Now they whispered it like a warning. Meanwhile, deep in the command chambers beneath Earth's mountains, the humans did not celebrate. Admiral Reyes studied the reports, his face like stone. We struck hard, but they will come again. And next time it will not be 200 ships. It will be thousands. General Okoye stood beside him, her arms folded, her eyes sharp. They underestimated us once. They will not make that mistake again. Then we prepare, Reyes said. He turned to his officers. Every silent fleet ship is to remain cloaked, expand the production lines, triple the tungsten reserves. The galaxy thinks we showed them our hand. Let them believe that. They do. Not know how many more railguns are waiting. An officer swallowed hard. Sir, if they strike with their full armada, Reyes cut him off. Then they will learn, piece by piece, shot by shot, what silence has forged. The council did not wait long to act. Within weeks they called for a second strike. Not just warships this time, but allies, mercenaries, even enemies who once hated them. The council's decree was clear. Humanity must be crushed before their silence became dominance. In secret, however, many empires hesitated. Fear gnawed at their leaders. What if their fleets were erased just as easily? What if their cities were next? Could anyone truly stop Earth's new power? A small empire on the edge of the galaxy, the Velari, sent no fleet. Instead, their ruler spoke quietly to his council. We will not raise weapons against them. We will watch, and when others burn, perhaps the humans will remember our silence. Another empire, the Celt Dominion, considered betrayal. Perhaps, their commander whispered, it is better to kneel before the Deathworlders than to die beside the council. The galaxy fractured, unity collapsed. Fear ruled, but one decision shocked everyone. The alien commander who had once led campaigns across 100 systems, the same commander now in human chains, was not executed. Humanity paraded him through the stars. Broadcasts showed him alive, bound and silent, his once mighty banners torn away. The galaxy watched in disbelief. Humanity had humiliated him but not killed him. Why, aliens asked. Why keep him alive? Some believed humans wanted to study him. Others thought it was cruelty to break him slowly. But a darker fear spread. Perhaps humanity wanted him alive to send a message, and the message was simple. We do not need to kill you to destroy you. Back on Earth, in the chamber where he was kept, the alien commander finally broke his silence. You cannot win, he hissed through cracked lips. The council will come again. They will burn your world to ash, and when they do, no silence will save you. The human guard, a young soldier barely past 20, leaned close. His voice was calm, almost pitying. You don't understand. The galaxy already lost, the commander narrowed his eyes. Lost? How? The soldier's gaze hardened. Because you made the mistake of showing us fear. In the council chamber, word arrived of another horror. A single human ship had been detected in the outer rim, cloaked until the moment it fired. An entire border station was gone in one shot. No survivors. No warning. The silent fleet was not waiting near Earth. It was already moving. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy realized it was no longer the hunter. It was the prey. The chamber of the Galactic Council was vast, built from stone and crystal that floated in zero gravity. Billions of eyes from across the galaxy watched as the most powerful leaders of the known stars took their seats. Massive creatures with scaled hides, insectoid minds linked in hives, and beings made of pure energy filled the great circle. Their seats glowed with power, with honor, with pride. But one seat remained empty. The human seat. It had been placed there centuries ago when Earth was first invited into the council. But no human had ever come. The chair of Earth stood like a shadow among the blazing light of alien empires, always untouched, always silent. Some mocked it, calling it a sign of human weakness. Others whispered that it was not weakness, but something darker. On this day the chamber echoed with nervous laughter. The humans will never come, a scaled lord from the Drath Empire hissed, his teeth sharp and glinting under the lights. They hide on their small blue world, playing with toys. Let their seat rot in silence. A chorus of laughter followed. Another alien, a towering insectoid queen, clicked her mandibles in amusement. Stone throwers. That is all they are. They throw metal slugs at one another while we shape stars. The hall rumbled with agreement, yet in the far corners whispers carried. Not all were convinced. The Zalkren envoy, old and trembling, leaned close to his aide. Do not mock the silent ones, he muttered. When a predator does not roar, when it does not move, it is not weakness. It is patience. Waiting. But no one listened. The council returned to business, speaking of borders, treaties, and wars. Fleets clashed at the edges of empires, Worlds burned, but still Earth said nothing. Year after year, century after century, the human seat stayed empty. Then came the question that shook the hall. A younger commander, proud and reckless, stood and slammed his claws on the table. "Why," he growled, "do we keep giving them a seat? Why must Earth be honored among us if they do not come? I say we remove their chair. I say we erase their name." The chamber erupted in shouts, in anger, in approval. Some cheered for the idea, while others shifted uncomfortably. The suggestion was bold, dangerous. Finally, the council speaker raised her voice, soft yet sharp as crystal. "If Earth refuses to answer our calls, then let us demand their answer. We will send a probe, a simple machine, nothing more. If they do not respond, their seat will be removed forever." The vote was quick, the decision final. The probe was built in silence, armed with advanced scanners, cloaked with shielding, carrying the mark of the Council itself. It was sent to the Sol system, to orbit the blue planet the humans called Earth. The galaxy waited, billions of voices holding their breath. For 3 days the probe sent back data, oceans, forests, cities glowing with light. Humanity seemed calm, unaware, weak. The Council laughed again, ready to erase the human name. Then on the 4th day the signal went dead. No warning, no distress, no wreckage, only silence. The chamber froze. The probe had vanished without a trace. The speaker demanded answers, but none came. Fleets searched for the machine but found nothing. It was as if the void itself had swallowed it whole. Whispers filled the hall. Perhaps a star flare destroyed it. No, the readings were clean. Maybe pirates? Impossible. No pirate would dare touch a council probe. The silence grew heavier. Finally, the old Zalkran envoy spoke again, his voice shaking but clear. "You mock them, you call them weak, but you forget what silence means. Earth has not ignored us. Earth has watched us, and Earth has chosen not to speak." The words echoed like thunder. Some laughed nervously, but others felt something sharp crawl into their hearts. For centuries humans had been silent. No threats, no demands, no wars, just silence. And now a council probe had vanished the moment it touched their skies. The speaker dismissed the fear, calling it paranoia, but unease spread like fire in dry fields. The laughter was hollow now, the mocking weaker. Eyes kept drifting back to the empty seat glowing faintly in the shadows. What was Earth hiding? Why had they never come? And what had swallowed the probe? No answers came, only silence. But deep under the surface of Earth, far below its mountains, machines that had slept for centuries stirred awake. Old warships, buried and hidden, began to power on. Their engines hummed softly, their guns long and silent, their hulls black as the void. The humans had heard, the humans had seen. And now, for the first time, they were preparing to answer. The galaxy would soon learn the price of mistaking silence for weakness. And as the chamber of the council quieted, every leader felt the same cold fear crawling through their veins. The human seat was empty, but perhaps it was never empty at all. The galaxy had never moved so quickly. Within days of the second attack, where an entire border station vanished into silence, the Galactic Council declared an emergency that spread like fire through every empire. Their message was repeated, on every channel, broadcast in every system, etched into every feed. Humanity must be stopped or all is lost. But the words carried no strength. They carried fear. Billions who had once mocked humans now whispered their name with dread. Entire colonies refused to send soldiers. Merchants refused to supply fleets. Even admirals, once proud, hesitated. Still, the council pressed forward. They pooled resources from 100 empires. They gathered over 1,000 warships, each one armed with weapons strong enough to burn moons. They placed their best commanders in charge, their finest strategists at the helm. This time, the speaker declared, there will be no escape. We will surround Earth. We will crush them before their silence spreads any further. Her words rang in the chamber, but even she could not banish the trembling in her voice. When the fleet assembled, it was a sight the galaxy had not seen in centuries. 1,000 warships in perfect formation, their hulls glowing with energy, their engines blazing like suns. Crowds on alien worlds cheered with hope. Children waved flags. Leaders promised victory. They needed to believe, because the truth was too dark. If this fleet failed, there would be no fleet left to defend them. The Council named it the Armada of Restoration. Admirals swore their oaths before departing, and every alien broadcast carried the same line. This is not war. This is survival. But Earth had been watching. Deep beneath the mountains, the command chambers glowed with quiet light. Admiral. Reyes stood at the center of a vast display, his eyes fixed on the shifting holograms of the enemy fleet. 1,000 ships, he muttered. They come with everything they have left. General Okoye leaned forward. Her voice was calm but sharp as steel. And they believe numbers will save them. Reyes turned to his officers. Begin Phase 2. No one asked questions. No one hesitated. They had trained for this moment. Far above Earth, hidden in the cold void, the silent fleet stirred. Dozens of black warships emerged from their shadows, their engines silent, their hulls invisible until the exact second they wished to be seen. The railguns had been loaded for weeks, tungsten rods stacked like arrows of doom, and for the first time, Earth gave the order. Strike before they reach us. The Armada of Restoration entered the Sol system, expecting resistance but not terror. Their admirals had drawn complex lines of attack, thousands of maneuvers ready. They expected humans to stay near Earth, clinging to their home world. But the humans did not wait. In the outer reaches of the system, past the frozen orbits of gas giants, the silent fleet appeared. Not in front, not behind, but everywhere at once. Ships shimmered into view like phantoms, railguns charged in silence. The first shot was like a thunderclap across the stars. A tungsten rod, nothing more than sharpened metal, tore through a cruiser's shields as if they did not exist. The ship split in half before its crew even knew they were under fire. Then came another, and another. In less than 3 minutes, 20 ships were gone. The Armada panicked. Admirals screamed orders. Fleets turned. Shields flared. Plasma weapons lit the void. But the humans were already gone, cloaked again, their positions impossible to track. Every time an alien sensor caught a glimpse of them, the railguns had already fired, and another warship was dead. Alien crews cried out as they watched comrades vanish. Ships built over decades were erased in seconds. Whole squadrons fell silent before they had even fired a shot. The humans did not fight like the Council. They did not fight like anyone in the galaxy. They fought like predators who had waited in the shadows for centuries, studying, preparing, perfecting a weapon no one had taken seriously, and now that weapon was rewriting the rules of war. Inside, his flagship, the lead alien commander, slammed his claws against the command table. Find them. They are only flesh and metal. They bleed. But even as he spoke, a railgun shot ripped through the decks of his fleet's vanguard, vaporizing 3 escorts in a single strike. The flagship shook, alarms blaring, fear swept through the bridge. Shields failing. They are already gone, Commander. No targets to lock. The commander's eyes widened as he realized the truth. This was not a battle. This was a hunt, and they were not the hunters. On Earth, humanity watched the battle feeds. The world was silent as their fleet struck, silent as alien ships died, silent as the galaxy's greatest armada began to collapse. Some civilians wept, others cheered, but most simply stared, because they understood something the galaxy did not. This was not victory. This was warning. Within hours, half the Armada of Restoration was gone. Entire squadrons had been erased without ever seeing their enemy. The survivors broke formation, fleeing in terror, their admirals powerless to stop them. And then, in the darkest moment, Earth did something no one expected. They stopped firing. The silent fleet pulled back, vanishing once again into the void. Alien sensors scanned desperately, but the humans had already disappeared. The battle was over, not because the Armada had won, but because the humans had chosen to leave. The message was clear. We decide when the war ends. Back in the council chamber, silence ruled. No one dared speak. The speaker's hands shook as she clutched the rail of her podium. Reports of destruction scrolled endlessly across the displays. The proud armada of restoration was broken, humiliated, and running, and then came the final. Transmission not from the Council, not from any alien empire, from Earth. A single line carried on every frequency across the galaxy, in every language, impossible to block or erase. We asked for silence. You chose war. The next time there will be no survivors. Billions froze as the words echoed across the stars. For the first time in history, the galaxy understood something terrifying. Humanity was not defending itself. Humanity was not resisting. Conquest, humanity was in control, and the silent fleet had only just begun to roar. The galaxy did not sleep. From the smallest outpost to the grandest palace, every screen, every broadcast, every encrypted feed replayed the same chilling message that had cut through the chaos of battle. We asked for silence. You chose war. The next time there will be no survivors. No one could ignore it. No one could erase it. The words of Earth carried across the stars like judgment written in fire. In the Galactic Council chamber, silence held like a vice. The thousand voices that usually clashed and roared in endless debate now whispered in dread. Entire empires that once mocked Earth now trembled. The speaker tried to steady her voice, but it cracked as she spoke. This is madness. Humanity was supposed to be contained, weak, primitive, and now their fleet. An elder from the Sarathi Empire cut her off, his scales pale with fear. Fleet? Do not call it that. Fleets can be counted. This thing of theirs cannot. It strikes where it wills, and it vanishes before we can strike back. It is not a fleet. It is a shadow across the stars. Every council member turned pale at his words, for they all knew it was true. Meanwhile, the survivors of the Armada of Restoration limped back to their home systems. Half-broken ships, scorched hulls, shattered morale. Crews that had once sworn to bring glory now refused to even look at their commanders. Many would never recover. Reports poured in. Admirals resigned, soldiers deserted, and colonies whispered, rebellion. The mighty empires of the Council were falling apart, not because Earth had conquered them, but because Earth had shown them the truth. The galaxy had always believed in shields, in energy, in plasma. They had built their confidence on the belief that numbers and firepower ruled war. But now, that faith was broken. A single human weapon, a railgun, had reduced their might to ash. On Earth, the war room was silent as well, but for a different reason. The officers did not cheer. They did not celebrate. They knew the galaxy had seen only a fraction of what humanity could unleash. General Okoye stood beside Admiral Reyes, her voice low and steady. They are broken but not finished. They will try again. Reyes nodded. Yes, but not soon, not after this. Fear has a way of making empires hesitate. He turned to the hologram display, where thousands of signals blinked, the positions of Earth's hidden ships. The silent fleet stretched farther than any alien could imagine, scattered like shadows across systems, cloaked and waiting. This, Reyes said, his voice grim, was never about one battle. This was about making sure they never think of touching Earth again. But Earth's leaders knew something the Council did not. The railguns, the cloaked ships, the ambushes, these were not Earth's final weapons. These were warnings. Humanity had built far darker tools in its silence. Beneath the oceans, under the mountains, in the cold of hidden moons, machines older than the Council's longest dynasties waited. The silent fleet was only the first layer. Humanity had prepared for centuries, not because it wanted war, but because it had always known war would come. The galaxy thought Earth had been quiet out of weakness. Now they understood. Earth had been quiet because it was dangerous. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy changed. Trade routes collapsed as ships refused to travel near Sol. Entire empires pulled back their borders, too frightened to expand. The council chamber sat half empty, with many refusing to attend out of fear that Earth was watching. Whispers spread like fire. Some said humanity was building a weapon capable of shattering stars. Others claimed Earth's scientists had found a way to strike through time itself. None of it was confirmed. None of it was denied, and that silence was worse than any weapon. On the fractured edges of the galaxy, rebels and slaves who had long suffered under the Council began to rise. They pointed to Earth as a symbol, a world that had stood against every empire and survived. They carried banners with a single word painted across them: humanity. The fear of Earth did not only break empires, it inspired the broken. And that was something the Council could never control. Then, without warning, Earth sent one final transmission. It was not shouted across frequencies. It was not loud or boastful. It came in the same quiet, unshakable tone as before. We will not conquer you. We will not enslave you. But if you seek war again, know this: Earth's silence will be the last sound you hear. The galaxy froze. Entire fleets stopped moving. Entire empires fell silent. Every alien ruler, every admiral, every soldier understood the message. Humanity did not want to rule. Humanity did not want to destroy. But humanity could end them all if it wished. And so the galaxy learned to live with silence. Not because they chose it, but because Earth demanded it. Far above the blue planet, the silent fleet drifted unseen, watching, waiting. Their railguns were silent now, but every ship stood ready. And across the stars, the empires whispered the same truth. The galaxy had not survived because of its strength. It had survived because humanity had allowed it to.